Great evening, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. We'll get started right at 7 p.m. Come on in the room. Do me a favor as you're coming in, drop in the comments where you are from. Let us know what city you are repping this evening. Let us know where you are watching from. We're excited to have you here this evening. So come on in the room. We're going to get started in about the next 5 minutes. We're excited about this evening's conversation. Looking forward to this discussion. Again, go ahead and comment in the chat where you are watching from. Go ahead and rep your city. We're excited to have you here on this evening. Come on in. We are live this evening. Do us a favor, go ahead and drop a comment in the chat. Let us know where you are watching from. Rep your city on this evening. Get started in about the next 2 minutes. I do want to be mindful of your time. I respect your time. So thank you for being here on this evening. Again, if you are just coming in, go ahead and drop your city in the chat. Go ahead and rep your city. Let us know where you are watching from. We're excited to have you this evening as part of our conversation. So go ahead and drop a comment in the chat. According to my clock, it is 7 p.m. on the dot. And again, I want to be respectful of this time. Great evening, great evening. Great to see you all here this evening. for those of you who are just joining us, we are just dropping our location in the chat. Where are you watching from on this evening? We're excited to have you here on this evening and looking forward to this conversation, right? I am super excited to begin. Again, I want to be mindful of your time, but I am elated to be here on this evening. This is Think Tank Thursday. And it's a little tongue twister, y'all. So I'm really considering changing the name, okay? But as for right now, I'm glad that I have the opportunity to bring this back. I originally started Think Tank Thursday for my college students, and where I was able to use this platform to expose them to various careers, various individuals, help them with finances and different things like that. And of course, I was super excited when I said, you know what, let's bring it back, but let's rebrand it and make it specifically for educators. But some of the topics that we're going to be discussing may not just be for educators, like this topic on this evening. Though this platform is geared towards educators, this topic that we're discussing tonight can be for anyone. So let's go ahead and get started with our conversation. I want to make sure that we have enough time to really dive deep into what we're going to talk about on this evening. So I am Dr. Sam. I am your host. I'm excited to be here with you all on this evening. And I just want to share a little bit about me. I am a 16-year veteran. I have been in education. Yeah, I cannot believe it's been 16 years now. Woo! That is a long time, right? And so in the last 16 years, I've served as a classroom teacher, a curriculum facilitator, assistant principal, and then I've had several other jobs before my current position. I founded Unchained Eduabilities in 2023 to bridge the gap actually between theory and practice, and to ensure that our teachers are actually really prepared for real classroom challenges, right? And of course, real classroom champions and the amazing things that happen in our classroom. And so through our 4-part framework, we are able to actually unlock minds, unleash potential, and really manifest possibilities of our teachers and our students. Currently, I serve as an executive director. And with that position, I have the opportunity to actually utilize data-driven strategies to help with boosting our educators and student success. Through our innovative tools and our professional development, we're able to really drive tangible academic gains. I am fully committed, fully committed to equity and sustainable, impactful solutions that really transform our educational system. So over the next 30 minutes, we're going to define what professional trauma looks like in education, what it actually looks like in our world. We're going to actually break down the latest research and share real powerful stories from real educators, including myself. Whether you're a teacher or you're an administrator, or maybe you are just someone who cares about the future of our kids, this episode truly is for you. So let's get started. So what is professional trauma, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Let's define it. So professional trauma is really the emotional, the psychological, and even the physical stress that arise from working conditions. These conditions can be things like having an overwhelming workload. And if you've ever been, if you're a teacher and even administrators, we have these overwhelming workloads. Then there's also another part of that stressor can be the lack of support, right? You don't feel like you have the backing of maybe your administrator, or you may not have the backing of your mentors, or and for my administrators, you may not have the backing of your district, right? And then there's also the big one that I'm seeing a lot these days that I'm hearing from teachers are those toxic work environment. And y'all, that one is real, okay? Drop a 1 in the chat if you know that's real. That toxic work environment is it's happening more now than ever, and it's really concerning, and it's really alarming. So let's get more into it and talk about the research. What is the research saying? So if anybody knows me, I'm a little nerd, okay? I love to learn. I love learning. I believe in being a lifelong educator, even as an educator. All educators should be lifelong educators. All individuals, all humans should be lifelong learners, okay? Lifelong learners. And so, what is the research saying, Dr. Sam? So, let me break this down real quick for you. Let's start by let's start by looking at the first one. So, according to recent research from the American Educational Research Journal, and my educators, I admonish you to go ahead and subscribe to that journal. You will get the latest information when it comes to research and education. They are a flagship peer review journal that is actually produced by the American Educational Research Association. And that's another great association that you may want to align yourself with when it comes to being an educational professional. And so that journal, as well as various other teacher well-being studies, they have found that educators experiencing professional trauma often report anxiety, depression, panic attack. And that panic attack, that was one of my signs. And I'll talk more about that when I share my story. And a higher likelihood of leaving the profession within 5 years. And I told y'all earlier, I'm 16 years in. Now we're seeing teacher retention is a problem. We see the revolving door, right? And we want to go ahead and start combating this, because I don't care what anybody say. This is one of the greatest professions there is on earth, and is the only profession that actually directly impacts each and every other profession, right? Another study actually showed that 50% of teachers that they actually surveyed in this study felt that they were at risk of burnout because of excessive demands. Things such as large classroom sizes. And it behooves me when I hear administrators says classroom size doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Okay. Then you have other mitigating factors like disruptive behavior with minimal administrative support. And we'll talk more about how administrators can support their educators. And then constant curriculum changes. Now, this one right here, y'all, we know in education, unfortunately, it is always something new. But I always tell people it's not new, it's just a different wrapper, right? They took something old and they just slap a new name on it, or they put a new wrapper on it, and now it's, oh, this is this new initiative. No, it's not. And then we unfortunately don't give the initiatives that we actually have been doing enough time to actually show some gain. Research says it takes approximately 5 years to actually see the results of some of the changes. But, in education, unfortunately, we like to rush. We want to rush the process. We want that microwave and not the oven. But that's a story for another day, right? And so, even looking at some other things, it's really not about just having a tough day at work. It's about the long-term impact that can actually shape an educator's mental health and their overall job performance. And that is the part where I want to put a pin in. I want to share some educator stories, right? I want to start off with my story. And I'm one who I always believe in covering people. And so I will not be naming names or anything like that. I'm big on confidentiality. And so I will make sure that I am keeping, and if you're going to go back to me, educator speak is where we're going to land on. I am going to make sure that I keep people covered, right? So my story is this. I worked for an organization and we had a leadership change. And anyone knows when new leadership comes in, new initiatives, new agendas, new all these things come along with them. And some things have transpired within the first 2 or 3 years where the leader was out for various reasons. And myself and another team member, a couple other team members had to take up that administrative role. But then you also have colleagues who are not handling their part, right? So now you're doing not just your job, but you're doing someone else's jobs. And educators, about doing double, triple, and sometimes quadruple the workload that you were actually assigned to do. If we actually read our job description, God knows we do at least 3 times what it actually says in our job description. And so with that being said, one day I actually was at the gym, shout out to AWOL Fitness, and I started getting a nosebleed on the treadmill. And anybody knows me, that's not something that I struggle with. Now I may get dry blood in my nose because of allergies, dry season, and different things like that, but never a full blown nosebleed. And that's when I knew like my stress level was at the next, it was just out of whack, right? Um, and that's when that same year is when I actually sought out therapy, and I started going to a therapist. I asked my beautician, she recommended someone. I went to that person for about 2-3 years, and then I actually just got a new therapist. And because change, there's different things as you start unpacking, start noticing that there's different things that you need to start dealing with. And so that was my story of where that professional trauma had came in, and I didn't understand that's what I was dealing with at that time. The next story I want to talk about is a good friend of mine. She actually works in the elementary realm, and she actually was part of a charter school. She had started working at a charter school, and unfortunately, she had a leader, an administrator, the principal of the building, and I hate, for the lack of better term, was a dictator. And very condescending, very incompassionate, was not compassionate at all, showed no empathy. And when you say a toxic work environment, they literally were a revolving door. Like you had people coming in, out, in, out. I mean, it was nonstop. What really pushed it over the edge for her was when her father had passed, that administrator expected her to come back to work the next day. Now, how insensitive is that to a person? And so she came to work, the crying and different things like that. And then, of course, with grieving, the anger, and now you have pressure from work, she ended up having that volcano experience in which you suppressed so much, and then it came out. That's when the administrator finally gave her that leave that she needed to have with the passing of her father. Then, to make matters even worse, when she became pregnant, she had issues with being able to get off of work for her prenatal care. Like when she was telling me her story, I just could not believe it. To have somebody, and I'm gonna say it, to have another female trying to block you from going to do your prenatal care, like that's illegal. I mean, I was so, it was so disturbing to me. But of course, unfortunately, charter schools have different policies and different things like that from our public education. Yet that still should never have happened. That should have never happened. And so she ended up resigning before the new school year started this year. And it broke my heart because she's an exceptional teacher. Okay, exceptional teacher. And for her to do something like that, it was just heart-wrenching. And then to make for my third story, this is a colleague, a former colleague of mine who's now become a friend. She has been in education for 21 years. I want to emphasize that 21 years, right? Was an instructional coach and was doing some great work, because I even had the opportunity to coach her myself. And she was doing some phenomenal work. She was changing and turning things around. But there was this teacher that unfortunately made life a living hell for her, right? And I usually I say he double hockey stick, but I had to say the word with this one because I actually saw it for myself. And she did not receive the level of support she should have received from outside of the role, right? And so she was doing the best that she could, and she ended up resigning. She's now currently just at home recovering, and she saw my post that I had posted about professional trauma, and she said, Dr. Moduai, I did not know that's what I was experiencing until you actually put a term to it. And that broke my heart, you all. I'm glad that she was able to identify the issue, but I hate the fact that that's what she experienced, right? And so we had conversation, and it just brought up so many feelings and so many emotions, because once I shared that post probably about 2 months ago, so many people, so many educators specifically were inboxing me like, this is what happened. This is what is going on. And y'all, the number of stories that I could tell, but I just wanted to highlight these three. I mean, it will blow your mind, right? It would literally blow your mind the number of stories I can tell on how this is happening and why this is happening. So, how do we break this cycle? How do we break it? I'm glad you asked. So, another journal that I love to read is the Journal of Educational Psychology. And it says that if school systems actually adopt a strong wellness policies that offer mental health days, not just, and I know many of the districts now are doing, offering mental health therapy for their teachers and for students, whether it is online, it is free, different things like that. But I need us to go further, right? I need us to actually adopt stronger policies to help with ensuring that our educators' well-being is also at the forefront. Things such as having a mental health day. I have to shout out North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride. Each semester, the students and the staff get a mental health day, a wellness day, in which we are to take that day. And I always tell my students, I don't want you all to do anything on that day. I need you to take that break, right? I have to shout them out. Things like that we need to be doing even in public education, as far as providing support groups, where we're not just receiving this professional development on this strategy or this new curriculum, but can we have a safe place to talk? Can we just talk for a minute, right? And even ensuring that our administrators, that we have administrative back end, right? When you implement things like this and have a strong wellness policy, you tend to see a decrease in burnout, in the burnout rate for teachers. I know there's districts and people who are entertaining the idea of even a 4-day week. Some places I've heard, places in the Midwest have gone to a 4-day week, right? To give the students and the teachers an opportunity to have that time of decompress and refresher and reset so that we can come back stronger. Okay. So let's even go further. Let's even talk about what things can we actually do as educational practitioners, as administrators. So here are some few practical tips that you can actually implement right now. If your district does not have a strong policy, that's okay. You can implement these tips immediately. So the first one is set up a mentor program. Make sure that you are pairing your veteran teachers with newcomers for emotional and instructional support. What you're doing now is allowing your educators the opportunity to spar and have discussions. I know when I was an assistant principal, one of the things myself and one of my other fellow assistant principal, with the blessing of our principal, we implemented fire chat Fridays, where we were able to have our new teachers as well as our veteran teachers, their mentors, come together right before school started for about 30 minutes, and we just talked, right? We sparred, we had discussion, we exchanged ideas, we did different things, allowing our educators the opportunity to really have this discussion and get that emotional and instructional support they need. But you say, Dr. Mutawali, like, I have veteran teachers, but my veteran teachers are stretched thin. They have 2, 3, 4 mentors. I got a solution for you. And one part of our framework for Unchained Eduabilities, the very first one actually out of our 4-part framework, is EduMentor. We actually can be the solution when you do not have the mentors. We can do whatever it is that you need, whatever is necessary in mentoring and coaching your brand new teachers, giving them that emotional and that instructional support that they need. So if that is an issue that you're facing at your school, you do not have the manpower, give us a call today, right? Give us a call today, and I will share the information on how you can contact us at the end of this presentation. The next one we want to talk about, even in this, is our professional development on self-care, okay? Our professional development on self-care. This is where we provide workshops that emphasize boundary setting, stress management, and practical coping skills or practical coping strategies. And so, with these types of workshops, you can actually do this for your staff. So, I'm not sure how many people are aware of the 8 dimensions of wellness, but Educare, which is the fourth part of our 4-part framework, Educare is the last one. Educare is actually built around the 8 dimensions of wellness, and where we tackle and provide workshop and resources as well as one-on-one coaching in things such as finances. We created a budget planner. There's also the spiritual wellness. There is occupational wellness, intellectual wellness, and you can actually look up all 8 of the dimensions for yourself. I even created a journal back in 2020 based on the 8 dimensions of wellness. And so if this is something that you know your teachers need, we've even created a calendar. This month, we have a calendar for January that covers the 8 dimensions of wellness and allows you to go through each of those dimensions, right? So if you like, Dr. Motivate, I don't know how to create a workshop or do a workshop on self-care for my teachers, I got the answer for you. Just give me a call and we can talk through that and we can come and provide those. One of the greatest books I've ever read, and I hate to mess up her name, but her first name is Lisa, and it's called Good Boundaries, Goodbye. And it's a great book, and it talks about those boundaries, setting up those boundaries. I know for me, one of those things is I'm not going to answer my phone after 9. I don't look at emails or answer my phone before 7 a.m. You have to set up those boundaries, okay? You have to be strategic with that. The next one is administrative support. Administrators, your people need your support. District leaders, your administrators, your school leaders need your support. It is so important for you not just to send an email, but actually show up in person and give your support, okay? Clear communication from the top. So districts, when you're giving communication to your schools, and school leaders, when you're giving clear communication to your staff, please make sure that it is clear. Let your teachers know or let your school leaders know that they have your support, especially when it comes to discipline, new policies, curriculum changes, or even a hectic scheduling. And if you need assistance with that, guess what? Part of our framework, we can help you with that as well, okay? To really show that care and help with those open lines of communication and start sparring with you on the different ways in which you can communicate with your staff. Because how many people know sending an email is not always effective, right? And some of our people don't read their emails until it's too late. So we can help you with brainstorming new ways in which you can communicate effectively with your staff. And then the last one, we want to create a safe space for dialogue. Our teachers need a place to really voice their concerns without fear of judgment. So I don't know how many people are familiar with the new challenge. We listen, we do not judge. We listen, we do not judge. I need my administrators and my district leaders to listen and not judge. This can be a monthly open forum or a confidential online platform, just somewhere that, again, creating that space, safe space, just like we had the fireside chat. They were able to really voice their concern in a safe place, in a community. Our educators need community. Community is so important. Human beings, we need community, right? We can't do this by ourselves. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, wow, I need some help, but I don't know where to start, I need you to drop a 1 in the chat, okay? Drop a 1 in the chat. If you're like, wow, I need the help, but I just don't know where to start, drop a 1 in the chat, because I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to see how there's other individuals who are facing the same thing that you are facing. Part of healing from professional trauma is to recognize it and seek the support, seek the help, right? Whether you do it through counseling or if you're doing it through peer groups or even professional organizations that are really dedicated to teacher well-being, I need you to seek the help, seek the support, right? And so one of the things that I want to say is that we offer so many different things, so many different ways in which you are able to connect with us, connect with Unchained Eduabilities, connect with Think Tank, because I'm excited again that this is our first episode and we're bringing it back. And so before I get into how you can contact me, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining this evening. In our time together, we have really defined professional trauma. We've even talked and explored research back insights. And then we, of course, shared the heart wrenching stories of myself and two of my former colleagues and friends, firsthand experience from these educators. This topic, you all, I cannot say how serious, more serious it is. This is a very serious topic, and it really deserves our attention. It deserves our attention right now. Our teachers need it because they are our frontline heroes, and they need the space in order for them to heal and really thrive. If we want our students to flourish, our teachers need to heal and our teachers need to be able to thrive, right? So if you want more, please go ahead and register for our upcoming webinar. Our webinar is happening on January the 30th at 6:30 p.m. January the 30th, register, because the only way you'll be able to access the webinar is if you register. Do not wait because you don't want to miss out, right? Don't forget to also hit us up so that you can get your free copy of the budget planner and the self-care journal. So you can use the QR code to scan the QR code or use the short link. This is a free budget planner for the entire 2025, as well as a free calendar specifically for January for self-care. Get your copy. I'm telling you, because these will not be free for too much longer. So make sure you get your copy today. Also, if you found this episode meaningful, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dr. Motawali and like, as well as follow us on all social media networks, okay? So you can find us on LinkedIn, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, you can, and again, of course, YouTube, and you can also find us on X, which is, the former Twitter. And so make sure you drop a review about this episode and share it with your network. If you are a parent and you're watching and you know a teacher who can really use this, an administrator who can use this, please, by all means, share this video, because it will be posted for the replay. Let's make sure that we amplify these stories and really drive real change in education. Remember our slogan, where real talk sparks real change. I challenge every one of you, teachers, principals, parents, and policymakers alike, to keep this conversation going, because this conversation is necessary. Please do share your insights you've gained today. If you notice a teacher in need, please reach out. Do not be scared. Reach out, okay? Even a small gesture of support can really have a direct impact, on a life-changing impact on an educator. Please don't miss our next episode. It's going to be on Thursday, January the 23rd, same time, 7 p.m. I'm actually going to have a special guest, Mr. Rashad Pitt. He will be sharing his personal journey of experiencing professional trauma as an educator. This episode has been amazing. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm Dr. Sam, and this has been Think Tank Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, please stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember that every educator's well-being matters. Thank you again for joining, and we'll see you next time.